been. And no one can take that from us. The movement to bring it back, it started here. And here. And here. In school gymnasiums, community centers, the living room down the block. You'll be where? Okay, we'll be there. Who are we? We're the movement that will beat Donald Trump. Welcome. We're going to have to sweat for it. We're going to have to sacrifice and fight. We're going to have to lead. Everyone is going to have to lead with kindness, humility, empathy, and not just talk, but action. Action today, action tomorrow. Action until we win. And we will win if we do this together. It's who we are. It's who we always have been. Now let's show them.
Please welcome the mayor of Milwaukee, Tom Barrett, and the congresswoman from Wisconsin's 4th District, Gwen Moore.
Hey, Milwaukeeans. Hey, Wisconsinites. This is Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett, and I want to welcome you to a virtual fabulous experience. I'm here with my good friend, Congresswoman Gwen Moore, and we are delighted to welcome Vice President Joe Biden to our community. We all know what's at stake in this election this November. This is without a doubt the most important election of our lifetime. And we have to have a person who has integrity, who has experience, and who cares about Wisconsin. And this is not Joe Biden's first time to the state of Wisconsin. He has been here countless times throughout his career, and he's been here countless times virtually in the last few months. But we know how important this state is to us, and we know how important it is to Joe Biden. So Gwen and I could not be happier to be together. We're together somewhere, but we want you to be happy as well. And we're here to welcome him to Milwaukee. So you're in for a real treat this afternoon. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Congresswoman Gwen Moore. Congresswoman, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mayor Tom Barrett, for that. And I'm so glad to be here with you. And you know, Joe Biden is a very important person. He's our Democratic nominee. He is the former vice president of the United States. And with everyone's vote, he's going to become the next president of the United States. But the thing that I think is so amazing about Joe Biden is that while he's a great, important person, he's a common man. He is someone who's experienced the heartbreak of losing children and a wife to tragedy. He's someone who led and understands the importance of leadership and led us through Ebola and another pandemic similar to this with grace and leadership and competence. He is someone who stood by President Barack Obama's side and got through in the important expansion of healthcare and moved us closer to having universal healthcare than we've ever been in our lifetimes. And he is someone that will help us get back on our feet and help us get the economic footing that we need. Someone who was right there by Barack Obama's side when he pulled us out of the Great Recession of 2007, 2008. Folks, I am so glad, Mayor Tom, to be here with you. I'm a fan of Joe Biden. We welcome Joe and all of his fans here. And Milwaukee, Joe is one of us.
Please welcome Cynthia Henry.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Henry, and I am the proud owner of Asia Fine Arts Gallery, located in downtown Milwaukee. I was born in Birmingham, Alabama, but grew up here in Milwaukee after my parents moved up north for a better life. Right now, it seems like too much of the hate and division that my parents experienced is creeping back into our everyday life. Communities of color have experienced so much pain with Donald Trump in the White House. That's why we all need to do everything in our power to elect Joe Biden in November 2020. Our community knows Joe Biden. He is a man of integrity who can bring civility back to our everyday lives. Joe is a proven and experienced leader who is respected on the global stage. As Barack Obama's vice president, he has been in the Oval Office where the tough decisions are made. And he's ready to be president on day one. As a small business owner, this pandemic has shown us that we need a leader in the White House who's going to fight for working class folks. Donald Trump has given us more chaos than competence with his response to this pandemic. He's more focused on working out wealthy campaign contributors than minority small business owners like me and so many folks who are hurting in Milwaukee. We need a president who cares about the working class, not just Wall Street. That's why we need to elect Joe Biden and restore the soul of our country. So I'm urging you to get out and vote this November. Our ancestors suffered for the right to vote. They gave their blood, sweat, and tears to protect this sacred right. Let's not take it for granted. Let's take our country back. Vote for Joe Biden, November 2020.
Please welcome the Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes.
Hey, everybody, let's give a warm Wisconsin welcome to Joe Biden for his Wisconsin virtual rally. Now, I know this isn't the type of rally that you're used to. It's not the type of rally that I'm used to, but we're in different times right now. We're experiencing a pandemic, and these situations require leadership. And that's why I'm honored and proud to welcome Joe Biden to the state of Wisconsin. Unfortunately, Wisconsin has been ill-served like so many other states across this country. The president has shown that he's not ready or willing to lead in these sorts of situations, the kind that leaves so many people behind. The nurses who put their lives at risk every day by going to work, the small business owners who are struggling for support and not getting what they need from the federal government while larger companies still see record profits. We need someone who understands our struggles, and someone who understands how to move us forward. Someone who's done it before, someone who's been a part of a winning team, not just winning for the sake of winning or winning for the sake of his or herself, but winning for the American people. That's what we need. That's what we deserve. In times of crisis, we're all called to do more. We're all called to act, but we have to do it together. We need a president, one who's going to stand up and bring us together, not one that divides us along lines of race, ethnicity, immigration status, or any other thing that they try to use to tear us apart. We need someone who's going to stand up and say no. No to the divisions that have plagued this nation for so long. We have to look forward. And we know that just beating Donald Trump isn't enough. We know that being better than him isn't enough. We know that there is so much more that we have to do to move forward. But the only way we move forward is when we do it together. And we know that the path to the White House runs directly through the state of Wisconsin. We know that the next president of the United States of America will have to win Wisconsin. And that's why we're here to support Joe Biden today. I hope that you'll join me. I hope that you'll join me because we know that the task at hand is so great. We know that lives are at risk. We know that livelihoods are at risk. We know that if this president gets another 4 years, marginalized communities will continue to be marginalized. People will be left behind. We've seen it happen over the last 4 years, and we can't stand to see it happen again. And that's why I'm proud to stand here today to support forward-thinking leadership, leadership that embodies our values of a greater America, an America that accepts all, an America that is ready to go boldly into the 21st century and to lead, to show the world that we can be great, to show the world that we are up to the task, and to show the world that we will be better. And with that being said, I could not be more proud to introduce the next president of the United States of America, Vice President Joe Biden.
Hello, Milwaukee. Lieutenant Governor Barnes, Congresswoman Gwen Moore, my friend Tom Barrett, the mayor, Miss Cynthia Henry, thank you all for welcoming me to your city. And congratulations, Tom, on your reelection. And congratulations to Dave Crowley on becoming the first African American and the youngest ever county executive. You know, I wish we could all be together in person, but I'm grateful we're able to connect virtually. First and foremost, I hope that all of you joining us today and your families are staying safe and healthy. It's an incredibly anxious moment for all our communities. You know, my prayers are with all of you who are scared, who are sick, who are grieving, and who are struggling to get by. You know, as I speak today, more than 90,000 Americans have lost their lives this pandemic, including more than 450 Wisconsinites, a number that certainly will be higher were not for the foresight and leadership of your governor. The losses are staggering, and it's frustrating. But more than that, it's heartbreaking to think about how much pain could have been avoided if Trump had wasted less time and he'd moved quicker. We could have been deploying tests. We could have marshaled supplies to ensure that every community was ready. We could have braced the public to act quickly to slow the spread. Instead, what did we get? Denials, delays, distractions. We got bald-faced lies about our testing capacity. That quote, anybody who wants a test can get the test. It wasn't remotely true 2 months ago, and it still isn't. We got promises that, quote, one day it's like a miracle. It will disappear. He had months and months to take action and lead with urgency, but he did nothing except make false promises and dismiss the experts. Now, 90,000 Americans are gone, and the number is climbing. More than 36 million have filed for unemployment. Millions more are struggling to pay the bills. Unemployment rate is the highest it's been since the Great Depression. And this president can summon barely a word of empathy, responsibility, or regret. And there's no indication he understands the depth of pain this crisis has brought to so many Americans. It isn't just lack of words, it's just lack of action. Congress gave the Trump administration tens of billions of dollars for a Main Street lending program to help small and mid-sized businesses. It was 2 months ago. They haven't lent a single dollar, not one. Why do they fail to get this money out to the folks who desperately need it to stay afloat? Is it incompetence? Corruption? Trump was out there tweeting again this week, reopen our country. How are we supposed to do that if you're sitting on the money small businesses need just to stay alive, to turn on the lights? Stop tweeting about it. Get the money to Main Street now, Mr. President. You know, we know that Donald Trump has utterly failed this test of leadership. But it wasn't just a failure the past few months that brought us to this place. This crisis hit us harder and will last longer because he spent the last 3 years undermining the foundation of our economic strength. Farm banker season jumped 20% last year, due largely to Trump's unmitigated disaster of a tariff war. Wisconsin farmers have been hit the hardest. Agriculture exports are down, and manufacturing is in recession as well. Trump inflicted incredible pain on our farmers, and for what? He was so desperate for a deal that he could claim as his big win with China. And instead of prioritizing help for working people, he used to negotiating leverage to provide access, get additional access for big banks to do business in China. How does that help the American worker? He didn't address China's unfair trade practices. And as for all those big purchases of U.S. goods Trump promised, China's already behind schedule, and we're never likely to meet the targets in the first place. And now with COVID-19, it's even less realistic. Trump's economic agenda has three unmistakable failings. First, the only measurement he cares about is the stock market. It doesn't matter if ordinary Americans are struggling. The stock market is the single lens through which he sees the economy. That's why his irresponsibly downplayed and delayed action on the virus. Why? To protect the Dow Jones. That one reckless choice is directly responsible, in my view, for the loss of tens of thousands of American lives and millions of jobs. Second, his entire economic strategy is focused on helping the wealthy and big corporations. Stop for a second and just think what we could be doing now with the $2 trillion in unnecessary tax cuts he delivered to his rich friends as his first priority. Imagine how much better off we'd be right now if corporations were using that money to keep workers on the payroll instead of buying back their own stock. Imagine if instead of handing over the keys of the store to help Scott Walker bring Foxconn to town, trading away billions in exchange for 13,000 jobs that never materialized. Imagine if we had invested that in small businesses like City Net Jazz Cafe that actually served the Milwaukee community. Thirdly, Donald Trump claimed he would fight for the forgotten man, the working class. But as soon as he got in office, he forgot them. Once upon a time, he promised to work with Congress to pass a bill, quote, limiting offshoring of jobs. He promised to create $1 trillion worth of new infrastructure jobs. And he promised to expand child care. He said it would all happen before May of 2017. Well, it's now May of 2020. Not one of these promises has materialized. Instead, he's run the same playbook that has degraded our economy time and again over the past 4 decades. If you need proof that Trump's policies were a failure, even before this virus hit, just compare the first 35 months of the Trump presidency to the last 35 months of the Obama-Biden administration. Hiring was slower under Trump. Real wages grew more slowly as well. Why would anybody trust this man to bring back our economy now? He thinks he's a builder, but he's a destroyer of everything he touches. All he has ever done is hollow out what really matters and then slap a gold sign on a flimsy foundation. You know, we're seeing it again in the way he's implementing the relief effort. No oversight, no IGs, no accountability. Relief money is going to Trump's donors and political allies. His Treasury Department allowed corporations with connections to cut to the front of the line. Meanwhile, the mom and pop shops got shut out. More than 40% of the initial funding designated to support small businesses never made it to them. It's not just a matter of incompetence or laziness. He wants a corrupt recovery. The single largest recipient of small business money was a hotel executive, a major Trump donor. The administration let him exploit a loophole to get $59 million in aid. He's only giving it back now because the press found out. You know, we're reading reports that the Trump administration is allowing big corporations to take the money to lay off their workers. How hard is it for Trump to say that if you're going to receive taxpayer money, you have to take care of your workers first? You know, it's time to say enough is enough. Wisconsin has the power to pick a different path. Here's what I do. I start by rebuilding the backbone of this country. A stronger, more inclusive, more resilient middle class. And this time bring everybody along. A middle class that can withstand a crisis that comes our way, any crisis. Since the very beginning of my campaign, I've had a simple message. Wall Street did not build this country. The middle class built this country. Ordinary men and women are capable of doing extraordinary things when given half a chance. That's who I believe in. That's who I'm fighting for. The workers who are carrying this nation on their backs, the doctors, the nurses, other healthcare workers, EMTs, and firefighters and police, grocery store clerks, meat packers, and the farm workers, the delivery drivers, the mass transit workers, heroes who all too often are the lowest paid and the least appreciated members of our society. You know, this crisis is showing us what's essential. I think it's time we reward the people who actually make this country work. I believe, and I really do, out of this crisis, we'll have one of the most breathtaking opportunities in the history of our nation. Not just to rebuild an economy, but to transform it. Make sure everyone has paid sick leave and child care support. Putting millions of people to work building a new green economy. Guaranteeing education that equips our children to succeed, and access to high-quality, affordable health care for every single American. Now, we can create an economy that works for all of us. And the way we'll do that is by empowering our workers, encouraging unionization and collective bargaining, ensuring fair play, overtime, compensation, worker safety, and a secure retirement. We can insist that big corporations step up for their workers and the communities in which they reside. We can rip out the race-based inequities that infect every part of our society, from the pollution being pumped into the air and water in communities of color to the disparities in health care they receive. Here's what it comes down to. We can choose who our economy, our government, and our country works for. That's a choice we have to make this November. And that choice could not be more stark. Before I turn this over to my friend and your outstanding Senator Tammy Baldwin, I'd like to end by saying thank you to all those frontline workers working day in and day out, risking their lives to keep this nation afloat. And to everyone struggling right now, I'm with you. I'll be fighting with you and for you every single day. We're going to get through this together. I have no doubt about it whatsoever. But the reason we're going to get through it is because I know the American spirit, the American character. We're seeing it on display every day. That's what has seen us through every crisis in our past. It's going to see us through again today. It will empower us to write the future we want for our country and for our children. So, Wisconsin, keep the faith. Thank you. God bless you, and may God protect our troops. It's now my great pleasure to hand things over to a true champion for Wisconsin, a true leader, Senator Tammy Baldwin.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Vice President Biden. And it's so great to welcome you back to Wisconsin. Now, even though your visit here today is virtual, we know that this event represents how important Wisconsin will be to making you the next president of the United States. And I'm so glad that you chose to have this rally in Milwaukee. Milwaukee is the site of the Democratic National Convention this August, where we will officially nominate you to become the next president of the United States. Now, the choice in this election could not be clearer. You know, Joe Biden, when he served as vice president, helped lead our country through an economic crisis of huge proportions. So he stands ready to lead on day one. But he also stands ready to lead with empathy. He knows that our healthcare system has to improve, and he's been fighting to do that. He also will lead with values that we all share, especially concerning the dignity of work. President Trump has exhibited an absolute failure of leadership. He has not stood by Wisconsin families, workers, or farmers. And that was even before the pandemic started. We've only seen his failure in leadership grow worse and worse. So we have a job to do, Wisconsin. We know that the road to the White House runs right through our state. And we know what we have to do. Now, this is a rally, and like any rally, you got to have organizers with clipboards, right? And so I wanted to share with you a couple ways that you can become involved in the campaign. There's 3 easy things you can do right now to help Joe Biden become our next president. Number 1, download the Team Joe app. Number 2, sign up to volunteer and start working with your local organizer. And number 3, join our Soul Squad to help spread the message about the campaign on social media. Now, this is a critical step in making sure that Joe Biden becomes our next president. You know, President Trump and his minions are spending millions on social media advertising, false television ads, and other messages of hate and division. We need to respond. And so your being a part of that operation is going to be absolutely essential. I can't tell you how important this race is going to be. The future of our democracy relies upon it. The future of our economy relies upon it. And frankly, this epidemic has laid bare some of the gross inequities that have been around for decades and decades and decades. But we have a crossroads right now, and we have a choice. Joe Biden is going to help America build back better.